Hello, everybody. My name is Ben, and welcome to the refresh point. They didn't mention. As always, I'm joined by my constant co-host, Steve. Steve, how's it going?
I'm not sure I'll ever be happy again.
Oh man. Anyways, the ban list dropped in English and in JP, meaning that I will be attempting to consume this extremely spicy chicken tender for for all of my mirth at the beginning of this episode. Really more of like a mental breakdown. I really couldn't believe that they wouldn't ban Shuna alongside everything else. I thought it would be like second in line to go besides Chainsaw Man. Anyways, we're gonna go on a summer field trip to Ohio and experience one of the first tournaments post both of the JP and English ban lists, so that'd be sick. And before all that, we're going to ignore both of the ban lists completely. I think I pulled something while laughing. Ow! I really pulled something.
Oh. Yeah, that's really difficult. I'm sorry.
So go ahead and shuffle your decks, tap or cut, and we'll get right into the refresh point with some breaking news. So Steve will be taking charge now as I attempt to eat this extremely spicy chicken tender and immediately get punished for laughing. What is it, like 3 minutes straight at the beginning of this episode, and we'll let you know. We've already alluded that Shuna wasn't hit in the ban list, but we'll let you know what the rest of the bans are.
Yeah, so while Ben starts breaking that open and I get the only joy that I'm going to have for the remainder of the year, in the form of this schadenfreude, let's talk about the English ban list update. So, we were so close. We were this close to success. And honestly, it's worth mentioning that I'm not mad about the cards that were restricted. These are very good restricts that open the meta up and make more decks possible. But we kind of missed the ball in one rather specific area. So first we'll talk about the worst one of all. All right, so let's talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender really quickly. So, Avatar: The Last Airbender saw the most important stupid card that they have get restricted. Everything all right, Ben?
Yeah.
All right. Our boy Bean Wolf, really, hats off. You did a great job, soldier. Mission accomplished. We need a picture of. I'm gonna. The thumbnail for this episode is gonna be the George Bush on the deck of the aircraft carrier, the mission accomplished banner in the background. You did it. You got Sokka banned. Congratulations. You can rest now. You were a good soldier, and we appreciate all your hard work. So, Sokka banned. 0 copies allowed. No Sokkas allowed. So. I'm not sure that Avatar has a deck that will be meta relevant or at the top of the meta without it. So
no, I don't think so.
It's going to be complicated. I will still be trying some Atla builds just because I think a lot of what they bring to the table in the early and mid games is very, very good. But it's questionable if they have enough to actually win games consistently with their remaining tools. It's too early to tell.
I thought I was gonna like That's the sound of Sokka dying.
Yeah. So, moving on from that, our next hit on the ban list is to probably the most ubiquitous deck in the meta, the deck we know, the deck we hate with all of our passion and being, Chainsaw Man. So, Chainsaw Man will see a huge drop in their easy revenge consistency by getting the exact same ban they got in Japanese, which is a restrict to choose one between the Himeno Brainstorm / Bonder and the Himeno, the Himeno Brainstorm and the Himeno Easy Revenge Bonder.
They're gonna smoke less, so they're gonna sound less like me right now.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
The other thing that's happening is we're going to be having less Akis, so we're down to 2 max Akis. Ben, what are your thoughts on what Chainsaw Man's gonna do going forward from here? Do you think that 8 bar is a viable deck?
I think 8 bar is like a viable enough play if you want to keep gambling your games away. In the post that's going to be out shortly after this episode airs, you can see that the odds for Aki are still not the worst, but it's not going to be the worst, but it is technically possible. It's just before this episode we were discussing the Gura ban, which is also limited 2. And what limit 2 to finishers often says is like, welcome to your new resonate target. You need this in turn 1. You need to hold it for the rest of the game, or else you're not gonna see it, or have any hope of seeing a second one.
Yeah, so I think that Chainsaw Man still has a couple decks worth trying. I think 8 bar is reasonable. I think Choice Door is reasonable. So we'll see what comes out of it.
Especially with the, especially Power with like Slime remaining in existence. Both Power and Makima. Power gets like 6k into level 2s on attack as like a 7/5. It swings like at a 13/5. So like it forces a punch from Slime. Like it won't crash. It specifically beats over. And then the Makima interaction gets to coin flip the top. If your character Shuna dies, and then we get to go fight a board of 10Ks instead.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely like room for them to continue to have success in the meta. It's just a question of, I want to, before we talk about the last of the restricts, I want to point this out because I think this is really important. If you were playing a deck that just got restricted, I would implore you to not completely give up on the set immediately. I think it's very common for the gut response to any restrict to be, well, the deck's dead, and then move on to the very next thing, right? And you would not be, it would not be wrong for you to decide not to play a set just because the restrict is more than you think you can bear in terms of choices in the meta. That's fine. You're allowed to make those decisions. But it's also something that you should consider that maybe the deck's not completely dead. And so with that in mind, let's talk about the last restrict, which is Hololive. So Hololive got Limit Gura 2, and then for some reason, for something that really left a lot of people scratching their heads, they added an additional 2-choose-1 restrict, but it's not the cards that people thought it would be. So it's a 2-choose-1 between the Mio Drop Searcher and the Luna 3-2, neither of which Gura plays. So this is kind of like a stray that hit the 8 standby deck.
No, I mean, the intern post specifically said that, like, the reasoning that was written up was, like, it was, like, shortly after AX or something, and they just, like, messed it up. Like,
okay, that's fine.
And so there is, like, it is, like, as we're probably expecting, once they updated, it is probably just an 8 by restrict, which, hilarious. I can't believe they hit 8 standby.
I think it's okay. They'll survive this. They just basically lose, like, their best drop searcher and have to move to a slightly worse drop searcher in a color that they will still be playing. So it's not a tremendous, like, hit. It is an annoying little hit. So that's fine. They'll be fine. It's okay. We're all gonna be okay. Now, let's talk about Limit 2 Gura for a minute. I have some experience with this deck.
Yeah, I mean, 8 standby Hololive got 2 more tops in the spring season than Slime, so it deserves a hit.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
So, let's talk about Gura for a second. If you watch my games at Worlds, or if you saw any streamed Kali Gura games during Worlds, or if you faced it after Worlds, you're probably familiar with the fact that that deck doesn't typically do more than 2 Guras ever. Like, if the game is, like, even remotely stable for your opponent. So, I will go out on a limb and say that this restrict does not damage the deck in a mortal way. It will make certain gameplay loops more difficult, because you will have to sculpt this thing, one of it, pretty early if you can, and you're gonna have to hold it. So, in games where your hand is pretty weak, that's when you'll feel this restrict, because you'll feel tight on clocking options. And having to hold a dead 3 for a very long time in the game is a difficult task when the game's not going well. So, is Kali Gura dead? I don't think so. I'm going to continue to test with it and experiment with it, but it was pretty good against this sort of field last year, and I think it will continue to be pretty good against this field in the rest of this year. The trick will be, you'll have to do a better job playing it, which is fine. I think that sort of skill expression is what separates very good Weiss players from less good Weiss players. So I think that's okay. Notably, the restrict that got missed, and we already kind of know about it, is Slime. So Slime feels like they got away with literally murder by getting no restricts at all. So we have a deck that has a lot of builds, many ways that you can construct a level 1 game. You have door combo, you have pants combo, you have other standby door combo, you have standby combo. So you have plenty of level 1 choices, and then the top end is completely untouched. So Muron into Shuna into whatever your finishers you like. So I think the expectation should be that Slime will be the most ubiquitous, dominating deck to at least start the fall season. Now, if it starts to just tear everybody to pieces, I'm guessing Bushiroad will intervene mid-season to stop it. But whether it will or not remains to be seen. So, the other deck that's kind of the big winner in this whole thing is Overlord. They managed to also escape without restricts, which I think most people kind of expected that they wouldn't restrict Overlord. It hasn't been just tearing everybody to pieces like it did in Japan. But I think that's a combination of two things. One, I think that it's an extremely difficult deck to pilot, so it's never going to be bandwagoned. Most people, when they pick up the deck and play it, feel all of its weaknesses and very few of its strengths most of the time. But the other thing is that just by their very nature, North American players and European players tend to just be a bit more aggressive in their damage game states. So the strategy that Overlord wants to employ, I think a lot of times just doesn't actually work when you're facing an opponent who is shoving damage as hard as they can, because you're trying to conserve your deck in deck 1 unless you have a lot of events in your hand. And so that strategy is going to leave you open to some variance, and that variance can cause you to take a lot of damage. So we'll continue to talk about what the meta is going to look like leading up to fall, but there's some clear winners here, and the decks that were very close to the meta and were being gatekept by just extremely high damage finishers like Gura, like Chainsaw Man, those decks are going to, they're going to be able to profit now because the meta is a little more open and they can participate. I think 8 Pants Spy X family is probably a big winner here. That finisher feels very reasonable. That early game feels very reasonable. If anything, their biggest problem is they don't have good answers at level 2 to what Slime wants to do on the board.
And Overlord.
Yeah, nobody has really good answers to Overlord, sadly.
Except for Slime?
Yeah. But yeah, we'll talk about it as we continue and sets continue to come out. There's going to be some events that like the Ohio event and like the upcoming Sacramento event, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, where we're going to get a snapshot of what some players think of the future meta when it comes up. So, what part hurts the most right now?
I think my audio is absolutely horrible. I gotta sit up.
Just pull it closer to you.
I think it's got it. My stomach. So like, I got bite 1 down, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll live.
Yeah.
And then I realized that the way that they constructed their spice profile is that it was delayed.
Oh, okay.
And going into bite, I'm like trying not to throw up too. Like going into bite 2 was like, fuck.
All right, well,
I see.
I applaud your courage.
Well, yeah, that's why we stopped.
Because you're reasonable.
At bite 2, yeah.
This is one of the hottest things I have ever heard of, much less tasted. So, lest the audience think less of me, I did give Ben several outs here.
No, I ain't no bitch. I lost the bet. We'll at least start it.
This is literally the only good thing to come from the ban list, so...
Is that Steve gets to watch me suffer before...
Just a little.
Before
waltzing into top 8. Yeah.
For hopefully getting into at least 3 top 8s this season. That's our goal. There's 9 tournaments. I wanna win.
Yeah, and
to answer your question, it's my stomach. My stomach is the thing that hurts the most.
Right.
I'm not even sure if it's my stomach or like it's just burning me on the way in to the stomach, like it's going like it's going down and it's burning on the way there. I'm not sure.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, so that's okay. I'll carry the episode, and you can do what you can.
You
right?
know, I got my digs in at the start, and then I got, as expected, the instant karma.
Right.
Not for nothing, I think there is an opinion that exists that an excellent Overlord player can kind of out the slime matchup more easily, or not more easily, but is capable of doing it.
I think so.
In the sense of, like, you set up double lines, at least one event for each, probably like one event for one, 4 for the other.
In an ideal world, yeah.
And then you get to kill the Shuna with one, murk the rest of the board with the rest of it, put the chokehold down, heal down twice, and like just laugh in their face.
Yeah.
And now, number one, I'm not sure how many of those Overlord players exist, but in a sense of like, at some point, those Overlord players will be the only ones left, because
I think if you're playing
piloting it,
if you're playing Overlord right now, you've been playing it.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, you know, if you low roll the Overlord player at a regional as slime, then, you know, you just pray that all the damage sticks and nothing matters anyway.
Yeah, I think that we were kind of having a discussion about this before the podcast, and I think that we both are kind of the opinion that really, really good Overlord players will be able to do fine in the meta against everything, but because kind of the sneaky sort of part of the Atla restrict is that the minus 500 power mechanic was very annoying for them and made their gameplay loops really awkward. And so having just less of that in general is like a subtle buff to them, in addition to the...
You know what will be funny? Technically, JoJo's will be able to play the Neg 500 drop search.
Yeah.
As like a potential tech, because JoJo's is coming out in October.
Right.
So like shortly after Sacramento, I think.
Yeah, there's like, I think 2 events right at the beginning of October.
Yeah, it's gonna be Sacramento and Costa Rica.
Yeah.
I was considering Costa Rica because somebody else wanted to go.
Right.
And they stopped. I want to go for the sake of they kind of like fake got their way to the like our wish list restrict,
right?
Because Nazarick and Slime Set 3 is not legal.
Oh, okay.
So like all of the bans are coming in hot, but also unfortunately too many other things aren't legal. Review Set 2 and 3 aren't legal. Guilty Gear isn't legal.
That's gonna be the craziest meta of all time.
Every upcoming set will not be legal.
Yeah.
So Ayakashi, Oshinoko, all that stuff won't be legal, but Hololive is full legal. And then, full legal, but Guru restrict. And then Ruby is full legal. And then most of the other kind of like regular... It's so insane how like the legality list for Costa Rica hits almost everything I own. Both Dragon Maid and Mob Psycho are also not legal.
I am sure that you could just play Hololive, but
this is correct. But also that would require me spending about $600 to fly to Costa Rica and get a hotel room.
Right.
So, hard maybe.
Yeah,
I want to play it because I want to see what that meta is.
Sure.
But
we'll see.
I'm going to Sacramento 2 weeks before that. I said before in this podcast that I would commit to going to every single United States regional.
Yeah.
That they announced.
And they announced more than they've ever announced before.
In their entire existence, yes.
Yes.
They announced, I believe, 9 or
it's
8.
9.
It's 9. Okay, let's run it down. Sacramento in October.
Yep.
November, Duluth into Houston.
Yep.
December, Philadelphia.
Yep.
January is none. February,
unless you count
Vancouver. January is Vancouver, but that's Canada.
Oh, we don't count. They don't count.
I said the U.S. regionals.
Oh, okay.
So February.
There's less then.
Yes. So February is.
There's only 7 U.S. regionals.
Yeah. February was, what in God's name was February?
Rosemont and Tampa.
March is Pasadena.
Yeah.
So whatever United States regional you go to, I'll see you there, hopefully in less pain than I am in at this time. And I do want to go to one Canadian regional. I'm leaning towards Vancouver, because Toronto is like the weekend of my birthday. Not that I don't love Weiss Schwarz, but I would appreciate having some break between travel.
If you decide on Vancouver, you are going to have a trip in December,
Yes.
a trip in January,
Yes.
and then 2 trips in February.
Yes, and then a trip in March.
Yes, but at the end of March at least.
Yeah, and preceding that, 1 to 2 trips in October.
Yeah.
Not for nothing.
Well, I will see you, all of you Refresh Point fans. I will see you at Houston and Pasadena. As I committed to prior to the announcement of any of these dates, I will be at the local Texas one, and then I will be at the last one of the season for the U.S., which is Pasadena. Not for nothing, that's the Southern California regional, so looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I have not taken a trip to Southern California for Weiss Schwarz since, I don't know, 2015.
Yeah.
Whatever the last year they did Continentals. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it. Speaking of California-based tournaments, Sacramento, California, August 24th, there will be a 2K Weiss Schwarz event hosted by Gold Star Collectibles, which is one of the OG NorCal stores. So, I will be at it. If you would like to face the world champion, then you can. All you need to do is go to Gold Star Collectibles on August 24th, and I will be there playing something that has not been played before because of this restrict list. So, I'm looking forward to that. I have not played a lot of the California player base. You have way more experience with that than me. So, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. I've
played mostly SoCal players.
Yeah.
To be fair as well. So, NorCal will, you'll be able to show up to NorCal, do a scouting run before I go there 2 months later.
Yeah. So,
which is the fact that there are 7 U.S. regionals is the main reason why I am not going to the August Sacramento tournament, given that I am already going to be going there and buying a hotel in Sacramento for something with ostensibly matters slightly more to me, which is trying to go to Worlds.
2 months later, I mean.
Yeah, but then there's 7 of these.
Sorry, I'm cyberbullying again. My apologies.
And then one of the Canadian ones.
Yeah.
Which I really want to go to because the Canadian scene is clearly a very different local than I feel like many of the other American scenes.
Yeah.
And I want to play against it and into it to some degree more.
Sure.
Like, I want to play into the meta that, like, the 8 standby Atla player from Canada that I jammed, like, 5 games into after the World's post-tourney, that he thrived in, apparently. I just want to see that universe where, like, somebody took 8 by Atla and was like, this is better than Bar.
Yeah,
like,
I think whenever you can get any of the international experience, it's kind of nice. You guarantee yourself a situation where you're going to face a whole bunch of people you've never faced before, and that feeling is very exciting. I like it.
It's really cool. Like, the Weiss Ice was very cool for a reason.
Yeah, I'm not gonna miss the Weiss Ice this year.
Hopefully they reorganize it.
Yeah, Zabuton, if you listen to this podcast and you need help with anything, you just let me know. I will help you organize Weiss Ice 2025. To cap off the last of the English conference news and ostensibly this breaking news segment, they announced a whole bunch of different pricing.
Yeah, no, it's sick, and not only that, like a bunch. I couldn't believe my eyeballs when I saw comments being like, "Hey, wait, we can't get Weiss pricing. The Weiss pricing is so bad. It sucks." And I'm like, how are we gonna? I mean, like, you can complain that it's quote unquote still bad, maybe, but you're not gonna gaslight me into thinking that additional prize cards entering top 8 is somehow worse pricing than previous years where only the winner got a card and everybody else got a mat.
Yeah, we're getting the new special promo pack, which we have no idea what the contents of that will be.
No, don't we know?
Do we know?
Yeah.
They changed
So the participation packs have any one of... you really have to make me do this, and I'm fighting for my life.
Oh, the tote bag. The tote bag.
Well, no, not just the tote bag. So, for participation, you get a pack. The pack has a stamped card with like the BCS 24-25 logo. It could be a Bochi card, an Aikashi card, a Love Life card, a Dengeki, I think, card. Yep. Yeah, a Dengeki card, a Shana card, or the Door Climax from the MyGo trial deck. And then the top cut receives the gold stamp version. So previous years, you might have seen that we got gold stamp participation promos. This year, the gold stamps are on the top 8 finalist PR packs. So if you make top 8, it's any one of those 6 promos again, but it has a gold stamp design that says BCS 24-25. And so, there's like going to be so many different versions of these cards. It's actually kind of horrendous. But they do look pretty cool, actually. And it's nice for Weiss specifically that there are... I like that there were multiple of them.
Yeah.
Because Weiss is a game of varied sets, and people often complain, like, I don't give a damn about this or that set. But it is still, like, it's a pack. It would have been nice if it was like, hey, you know, if you get top 8, you can pick any one of these 6 promos. But not only in Top Cut do you get a card, for top 8, you get an Ayakashi Triangle mat. Top 4 gets another card. You get an Oshinoko gold stamp event.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a meta card too. It's like one of the like things that extends their finishing power. It's called First Stage. It gives like on attack. Oh yeah. So it gives a character on attack, pay 4, and then yeah, just on attack, pay 4, deal 3, and or it can get like a card. Oh yeah, it can get a climax. It can give power, puts the card into stock, or it gives pay 4, burn 3 on attack to anybody in a deck that generates much resource and is like able to pay for that on top of their finishers. So like lots of prize cards going around, and they haven't announced a champion prize card for anything but Shadowverse yet. I would expect that they would have one, but even if they didn't, this is still on average more like both participation kind of like available things and general prizing than previous years.
Yeah.
And ostensibly still a free tournament.
Yeah, they're also giving out a participation tote in addition to the participation promo, which is a super cute Shioko bag that has her holding a trophy on it, wearing a crown. It's adorable. So that's all very good. All the games are getting more pricing. All the Bushiroad games are getting more pricing. And so that's
they listed the certificate this time.
Yeah. So I'm very happy about all that. They did announce Worlds is going to be in May of 2025.
Yes.
No firm date yet. They said during the next conference they will announce the exact dates. So that's really good.
Yeah, you get to buy no, you don't even have to buy a flight. It's a sponsored invite back. You rat.
Champion status. What can I say?
Well, you get to start planning your your lovely trip over there.
They announced 2 new sets for English. We have Freeran, Beyond Journey's End, and...
Wow! I'm so surprised! I never would have seen that coming. Oh my god, I was waiting every day and night. I didn't know that they would announce it. It's insane. It's not even like at Anime Expo. They had a Freeran Beyond Journey's End banner at their booth that just said Weiss Schwarz on it and like get ready for Freeran to come to the stage or anything.
So we were kind of expecting Freeran, and then we got a little unexpected nugget, which is kind of nice.
Macross Delta.
Yes, we're getting Emma Cross Delta.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my god. One of our locals, Max, wrote a list in JP when he went to Worlds, because he was like, they're not going to bring Macross Delta to English.
Ain't no way.
Right, guys? Right?
Yet another person has learned the cost of buying cards in Japanese.
This is why I didn't buy Freeran too. People were like, "Hey, you're gonna get a PlayStation Freeran." I was like, "When it comes to English."
Yeah. Yeah, I cannot be fooled easily by these frauds anymore. They used to get me all the time, but I've gotten sharp. I'm smart now.
Man.
I got a sixth sense for the sets that are gonna come to English. Freeran was guaranteed. There ain't no way I was gonna buy the Japanese version of Freeran. So now I can pay even more for the English version of Freeran. So, that's great news. Also, last announcement, we're getting a booster box and carton configuration change.
Yeah, less commons.
Starting in November, the TLDR of it is less commons, more foils, which I generally believe to be overall a good thing. There are going to be more boxes in each case. We're going up to 24 from 18. So, the biggest problem with that is that your one box magic now is even more difficult to pull off. But I think overall, it's a positive change. It will increase the amount of foils available. So I think overall, this is a fine change. Basically, we lose 1 common per pack. Who cares?
There's too many commons anyway.
I think overall, this will not change very much about the cost of Weiss Schwarz. It might raise it a little bit, but overall, still one of the cheapest games around. I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, and because we are going to be this, you know what? We can loop this into this segment in general. There was also a JP ban list. Whoa, wow, crazy.
Yeah.
And well, ostensibly, we're going to be going on a summer field trip. Hey, yeah, nice. Did you hear that like little music transition? Steve couldn't, and I couldn't because we record this before I edit it and like put music in. But you heard it, and I hope you enjoyed it. It's a really nice song. We're going on a summer field trip. We're going to Ohio. Steve's going to Sacramento. That one's in English, so we don't care about that summer field trip as much. Good luck winning money. But in Ohio, it's going to be a mixed JP English format. They predicted the Sokka ban too. They pre-banned Sokka, and then they didn't have to anymore.
Which is actually just wild.
Yeah. They literally like, oh, we think Sokka sucks. Ban it, and then if English bans it, cool. And then English banned it. But there's also a JP ban list that matters. So for all of you that play any amount of JP, you can clown on us a little bit. We haven't done the vast majority of our learning of the JP meta. And so you can get in the comments and make fun of us and be like, wow, I can't believe you said this deck was good, or this deck could live, or this deck was okay when this deck sucks, or this deck's good, or whatever. If you play the JP meta, feel free to leave your comments in the comments section below, or wherever Spotify lists it, or tweet at us. I mean, you know, that's it's all possible. JP ban list though, bunch of hits, a few things taken off. Unlike in English, they freed Kaguya. I couldn't believe that either. They literally JP frees Kaguya, and then not even like a week later, English comes in hot. They're like, we're banning Gura, we're banning Aki, and that bitch Kaguya can stay right there.
It's a bit wild.
Oh
it is
my
really
God.
wild that they just don't unrestrict more. Like, not that deck wouldn't be good if it had everything. It just it just wouldn't be that good. But at the very least, you could give the 10 or so people so coping some like hope. I don't know, man. Anyway,
Like, why?
yeah,
Why?
they just don't want that
Just
deck to exist,
like
I guess.
how you live. Let it live.
So our JP restricts are for four of the more difficult sets to manage. Alice Gear, Aegis, Project Sakai, Shiny Mess, and Bunny Girl Senpai.
Yep.
So I'm familiar with 2 of these. I'm less familiar with the other 2.
The one we're gonna be both least familiar with is IMS. We haven't played that much against it. We do have one person that was playing the 8 standby list before the restrict a little bit, but he literally had just put it together this week so he could try it out before it got legally restricted.
I definitely know one of these cards is their minus souls counter. It's like pay 3 for minus 3
pay
souls.
3 minus 3 soul.
Yep.
And then the other card says at the end of your opponent's turn, if you are at X6, 2/6, or 3/6, heal down to 0.
Holy moly.
Yeah, this is a this has a defensive scry assist in the back row too, by the way.
Yeah.
It has that neg 3 soul event.
That feels like a lot.
It has like from what I recall like a pretty straightforward like burn 2 finishing thing.
Well,
yeah. So now you don't heal down from 6 to 0.
Healing your entire clock does not sound balanced. Not sure what the thought process was there, but
It's at the end of the opponent's turn only.
Oh, well, hooray!
Just to like really stick the knife in you.
To make sure that you definitely lose all hope. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, please hit him to 3. Hits for 1. Sticks to 2/6. No!
Oh my lord! It has standby.
It's 8 standby.
Oh my god! It works from 2/6.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just kill me.
So
maybe they should have worded that template a little tighter.
Yeah.
Holy moly!
I don't know the exact text, to be fair, but I mean, or do you have it pulled up?
I was looking at the change. I couldn't find it. I was looking for the changes in Alice Gear. Aegis.
Oh, Alice Gear. No, I did play a little bit of it and played against it a little bit at the ice. So it does suck. They were like, all right, you're Ricky? No.
Yeah.
You're Burn Brainstormer? Also no. So like, can't push the damage as like legitimately freely anymore. Your early game takes fairly sizable hit.
Is that the Burn Brainstormer? That's
Yes,
not
and an assist.
That's not the coin flip?
No.
Okay.
So basically it was a 2k to front assist that let you rest 2 to mill the top 4 and burn for each climax. Turns out we play standby. Turns out our standbys tend to play out the other 3s that we care about to the front anyway, so then our spare standbys become Brainstormers. The Brainstormers then get to burn you, and then you get to get burned again by the finisher that came out at level 1, in case you forgot.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's pretty rough.
Yeah. Alice Gear. Now, I will say, I did tweet at my boy in Japan who was playing it, and we ended up following each other on Twitter. And I tweeted at him. He was like, I was like, is Alice Gear dead? And he was like, nah, it's still playable, baby. Not exactly that, but I was like, okay, all right, okay, guy.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's probably still playable just by virtue of the combos, you know.
Yeah, I guess either you abandon the 3-2 combo or you just.
I mean, you abandon everything else.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So your utility game just becomes a lot worse.
And that's just how it is.
Yeah, so I went ahead and looked up that Idolmaster card because it sounded obscene.
Is it still obscene?
At the beginning of your opponent's encore step, if you have 6 cards in the clock, rest this card and return all the cards in your clock to your deck.
Oh, it's to deck. Interesting.
Also, this card has shift.
Oh, baby. It's got shift?
Yeah.
On God?
Yeah.
We can just have it?
Yeah.
No worries.
It's pretty
Yeah,
bad.
okay. I got the exact response. Gatsa is like, still going strong.
Yeah, I mean, your level 0 game gets a little worse. Everything else is kind of fine. The Bunny Girl Restrict feels like a very light touch. Basically,
Yeah,
they have a very awkward blue level 1 that lets you stock charge a vanilla level 0,
Uh-huh.
and they
Restricted it with
it
the My finisher.
with the My finisher,
Uh-huh.
which I guess is fine.
You haven't played with the new
I
Bunny
guess I
Girl.
haven't, but like, yeah, I guess the loss of like 1 or 2 stocks.
Logically, it makes sense why it would be good because it's a memory deck, right?
Of course.
And you need to pay a lot of stock for the memory.
Yeah.
And then you need to pay for your finisher that doesn't, I don't believe, get you like stock back in a way. And so we need a lot of cash.
Right.
And so here we are.
That's fine. It's a deck that's been doing very well. I again, like, this is just not our strong suit, so it's difficult for me to say for sure, yes, this is a good idea. No, it's not a good idea. So
Project Sekai basically loses the, I believe it is the Brainstormer with the Dora finisher choice. Steve can double check me here. It's one of the utility pieces with the Dora finisher. Our Sekai man, our Sekai grinder in our area has said it's likely that it's going to be switching to like 8 choice.
it's the brainstorm.
It's the Brainstormer. Yeah, okay. So kind of likely to be on 8 choice instead. You switch from Mill 6 Spicy Tail to on cancel burn 3, I think.
Yeah, because this thing gives the choice trigger to 2 of your events,
And it turns out we kind of like that shit.
yeah, it also gives power when you play events.
Yep.
Like, it's just a very good card overall, so you probably don't want to abandon that too quickly.
Yeah. So technically playable without it, but realistically, no. We're not gonna play the door finisher without this like yellow setup. So we're gonna try to just go back to all yellow, 8 choice.
Yeah, Icy Tail 6 for burn 1 X times is pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
It also has the benefit of no backups.
Yeah,
so, that's... I think the 2 decks that will split into are probably both fine, which I guess is the goal when you make these kind of 2 choose 1, 3 choose 1 type restricts, is that you hope it will produce 2 weaker decks rather than 1 really strong deck.
Yeah, like the door finisher goes back to it's like its own band in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Or it's like its own group.
Yeah.
Hololive, it's actually insane to me that they fucking targeted down 8 standby even harder in JP. Again, it surprised me that they targeted 8 standby in English, but they shot down 8 standby in JP. They removed even Sora and Ame from the choose 4 restrict that previously existed.
Yeah.
And they added into this choose fucking 4 Luna, the rest counter, the Kanada dancer, and the polka magi. Holy help me. Like in English you could cope, you'd be like, we don't have Mio. That's a very useful utility card, lets us scry a lot, good in hand fix, does suck, but deck archetype still playable. In English or in JP, they just fucking executed it.
Yeah, they took the Hololive 8 standby deck out back and just shot it.
They saw that that France's like political scene was going into chaos, and they're like, "Ooh, yeah, I remember guillotines existed." Shunk.
Yeah, I don't know what you do now.
You don't.
You don't.
All right.
Yeah, back to Canada Marine, it seems.
Or Caligura, because
Yeah.
Caligura in JP
I don't
fully legal.
Yeah, no, there's still limit 2 Gura, but
Yeah, you have limit 2 Gura.
but what I would
nerd.
say is that I don't think Caligura fits the JP playstyle very well.
Uh-huh.
So, they did unrestrict Sora, so I guess Minus Souls is back on the menu.
Yeah,
but,
I guess.
But yeah, I think they'll just play Kanata Marine. That deck feels very up their alley. We talked about oh, you can have 3 Yos now for whatever that means, which is nothing. They unrestricted
They unrestricted Heathcliff, or no, not Heathcliff.
It's Spriggan Kirito.
Spriggan Kirito.
Again, that means nothing.
What is that?
It's a pants support. It's 500 all, and it's the good pants.
Oh,
support.
it's the good pants support. Which, to clarify, is discard the climax of salvage.
Correct, and 500 all. Very, very good card. It's cool that they unrestricted it. Doesn't change anything. So
They unrestricted a Sympho Gear card.
Yeah, it's part of the. Their little.
Yeah, I don't know Sympho Gear.
It's part of their little combo package. I don't.
And they gave Overlord back their rest counter.
Yeah.
And nothing else.
Again, yeah, that deck does not matter. It has no game. It has no gameplay outside of Ainz. And as long as Ainz is banned, then that deck is going to go nowhere. So, the Ainz
it's like a worse Alice
Ainz
Gear.
1-1 to be.
It's like a worse Alice Gear.
It's just a worse lots of other things.
yeah.
The unrestricted Kaguya, as we kind of alluded to earlier, again, that means absolutely nothing. But it is a good thing to see that they're, at least in JP, they're willing to unrestrict cards that no longer feel like they matter in the meta. But they do latch onto weird mechanics and sit on them forever. So, the Hina Logic Merlin is still banned. It's just so weird. I don't know. Anyway, Fate's still restricted, sure, I guess.
Data Live is still restricted.
It's just it's a very weird, arbitrary thing, it feels like, where they just...
I love that Haruhi is restricted in JP. It makes me laugh so much that fucking anti-climax event counter is still banned.
I'm kind of fine with stuff like that because they're bad for the game. Where it's not only am I not going to win, I'm also going to remove all the fun from the game. And it's okay, well, I guess. So we shouldn't allow decks like that to prosper. So I'm fine with that card being restricted. I don't care. It's not good for the game. Preventing your opponent from playing core mechanics of the game should not really be a feature of the game. It's that'd be like if they introduced a card that's your opponent can't play level 3s next turn. And it's okay, but why? What? Okay, I guess. Or or even worse, if it said both players can't play level 3s. It's kind of that level of trolling where you're just this doesn't advance the game state and it actively makes both of us feel miserable. So let's never do that, shall we?
So for the rest of our summer trip preparations, we're going to be looking at all of these sets that we're really just not familiar with at all whatsoever. Stuff like Heaven Burns Red, previously alluded Shiny Mass, Ayakashi Triangle. There's a few different lists besides the Heal Down 8 Pants list. There's just there's more of it and more relevant of it, and so we'll get into that. We'll take a look.
Yeah, in preparation for commenting the Ohio event, I'm going to have to, at the very least, understand the top end of the meta, which I'm aware of it. I just don't know the specific cards very well. Because a lot of those sets are just never coming to English, so I just don't consume that. But a lot of the times, those decks are going to be at the top of the JP meta. So if you're playing in a mixed event, which this Ohio event is a mixed event, then you should probably familiarize yourself with those sets because they're going to 100% be there. So,
yep. And now for something completely different. We've been talking about bans this whole hour.
Yep.
And now, let's get rid of all that shit.
Yeah.
No bands.
So tomorrow, which would be July 13th.
July 13th.
So the day after this is being recorded, we are going to host a no ban list shit fest. And
oh boy.
It's all legal, baby. Everything
we just discussed does not matter.
Yes.
For one day only.
Yes, there are no bans. This is like the Purge in Weiss Schwarz.
The Weiss Purge.
So you're not allowed to play the stupid Woozer cards or whatever, but
no joke cards.
No joke cards, but everything
Neo-standard,
else legal.
Everything legal.
So we kind of played some for fun games a couple weekends ago, where a lot of us have already built our piece of shit decks with the most toxic, awful mechanics possible.
You know, the funny thing is, somebody is fully just playing unrestricted slide.
Yeah.
Not that it is gonna be like the top of the meta of no bans, but like fuck it, like he has like 4 SP Shizus and he's like, I can play them finally.
I think that what's gonna be wild about it is the super broken stuff from JP. I don't know that many people are gonna play it.
There will be a Love Life. There has to be a Love Life Superstar player. I think at least 1 or 2 people committed to playing Love Life Superstar.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple really awful criminals in our player base who will pilot some of that stuff.
What are you gonna play, Steve?
I'm gonna play D-side Traumaride.
Are you?
Because I'm an actual criminal.
You absolute asshole! What happened to Alice? You could have it! This is your time!
Yeah, but the thing is that I don't want to remember. I'll just be sad when it's over. So I'm taking the time to explore some of the more awful shit that I never played. So D-Side Traumaride is one of those sets where they cooked a little too hard and they wanted to have this changer-based set, which is all very fine and thematic, but the weird downside of it is this deck heals an awful lot at 2 and creates some incredibly oppressive game states.
Oh yeah.
So that's cool. I think that
let's see. Yeah, let me go back to this ban list and see what we're expecting near the top here. Ooh, Key All-Star.
Yeah, I think there's one criminal in particular that might play Key All-Stars.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's gonna play Puzzles and Dragons. I don't think anyone owns it.
I don't think anybody. That's kind of sad though, you know.
Yeah, that deck seems incredibly busted. So unfortunate. Though it turns out we just added a whole bunch of stuff. So like. This might be your last shot at playing some Idol Masters, perhaps some Bunny Girl Senpai if you want to stock charge one last time, Alice Gear Aegis.
I don't think anybody owns Alice Gear either.
We're allowing proxies, so if you feel like sending it for the boys, then go ahead, do it.
Yeah.
But
I'll remark that you're saying that to nobody. This event has already happened.
Right. Anyways.
But we did it, and it was fun.
We did send it. Yeah.
We did send it, and it was fun. Man, if I didn't have my loyalty to Batman, the OG deck that I was on, then I would consider playing Alice Gear for the lols.
Yeah,
just because it's funny.
Yeah, so for those of you that may not know the deep refresh point lore, Batman Ninja was Ben's first set, and that's how he kind of got into the game.
I think I referenced it in our first episode where we introduced ourselves. But so the way that I got into Weiss Schwarz was that I was sitting in the UT Dallas Student Union, and 2 people were sitting down. One of them playing Haruhi. The doctor was playing Haruhi Suzumiya, and opposite him was somebody else, I believe, playing. It was either a different local playing Review or a different player local playing Love Live Sunshine. I was like, hey, what's that? And they're like, oh, this is Weiss Schwarz. It's a card game with animes and stuff. And I was like, oh, well, that's pretty cool, but I don't really like anime that much. I don't watch that much anime. I mostly play like games and stuff. And somebody whips around from the corner and is like, yeah, but there's a Batman Ninja set coming out. You can It just came out. You can get that. And there's these things called trial decks. They're like $20. I was like, $20? I mean, who doesn't like Batman?
Right.
So we go to Amazon, we get a Batman Ninja Trial deck for $20, and I played the Batman Ninja Trial deck into the meta Persona 5 list, the meta Love Live Sunshine list, and the Doctor on Haruhi Suzumiya, and a different person playing Review Starlight for 6 months. It's a wonder that I still enjoyed playing the game.
Yeah.
Thinking back on it.
Yeah.
Because before I went to my first local, that was my Weiss Schwarz experience. Rock up, play this guy that can't reverse anything for the most part, or it's like Love's Life Sunshine that bombs me back.
Yeah.
It's like Love's Life Sunshine bombs me back. Review Starlight's the only like maybe reasonable thing that I can reverse, and then Persona 5's like, hey, I can change to the color, and now you can't reverse me. And I'm like, dang it. And then, finally, I went to my first local, and they had Batman Ninja packs in the store. But I wasn't going to buy packs, so I fought for pack per wins to upgrade my trial deck into a real boy deck over another 6 months.
You know, that's one of those things that could be like a villain arc.
Yeah.
But
I was so used to going like X2 to X4 that like when I started having positive records,
yeah, that's how you know you made it.
like
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I still I think I can still count on my hands the amount of undefeated locals that I have gotten. Still, I'm pretty sure I'm only at 8 undefeated locals total.
Ever? It's crazy.
Like,
It's a tough local scene.
it is.
I often wonder about our ability to actually grow it because it's become such a group of hardened criminals that like, I don't know. It's hard
We're
to
doing our best. I mean, like,
we definitely
the
have
other day I was fighting somebody. They were a new player playing Don Machi, and their hand horrendous. It was like 3 doors, 4 torches, and a bell, which is all in all not the worst hand, but they were about to like not clear out their whole deck and do something horrendous. I was like, whoa, wait,
Let's talk about this. Let's
hold
talk
up,
about this.
hold up. No worries, it's okay. Let's discuss this.
Yeah.
And I'm like guiding him through like getting rid of as many climaxes as we can, and like
we gotta
making
talk
sure
about
to-
this before you kill yourself. Hang on.
And I did eventually win anyway, but he was able to play the game and get to a finisher and like be like, oh yeah, we have clock compression actually, sheesh, and like, you know, like fun stuff like that. So not for nothing, because we're a bunch of hardened criminals, we get to teach all the newbies to the gang the ropes to like
Yeah.
to like start stealing.
We gotta help these
pulling petty jobs.
Yeah, we gotta help these people survive. But this is a long way around to say that Ben is going to play the Gorilla Grodd into Batman level 3 nonsense.
You know what the worst part is? You know the worst fucking part is? This is honestly, it feels worse than playing the like correct like design intended like 1-0 Batman.
Only because we all know what kind of bullshit you're up to.
I'm not outing myself to anybody else because this is uploaded afterwards.
Right.
The ban is okay, and so soon after I got more into Weiss, it's like year 1.5. I learn of the Batman demo deck, which is what was restricted here. In the sense of, they made the demo deck before they finished the set, which meant they used a bunch of art and names before the set was released, which meant that you could run multiple copies of certain profiles, or substitute in perhaps cards with the same name as a different card for certain interactions. So before we get to the illegal thing, two of the fun things. There's a Sunder combo, and it's supposed to end with a level 0 guy that sucks. Whatever. It's like a level 0. It's like a 4K with 2 or less stock. In the demo deck, it's a 218K with hand-on core. So not for nothing, you can substitute 2 of the 0s with 2 of the 2-1s and end your attack with like a 9K swing anyways, just for fun. And if like everything's going poorly afterwards, you can hand encore it to get like a desperate attacker. And then there is a camera event in the trial deck, Clandestine Connections. And Clandestine Connection says, on play, look at up to 4, add a weapon character. And in the main set, Donning the Mask is a 1-2 event that lets you search for like 1 or 2 Batman. But in the demo deck, Donning the Mask is another Check 4 event. So you can run 8 cameras in the same deck. And I did for a good 6 months.
That's not a bad thing. Or it doesn't sound bad.
It was hilarious. There was a game where I went out like 6, but I had 6 cameras in my hand. So I wasn't out 6 at the end of that turn.
It's crazy.
And finally, Gorilla Grodd Decay says, when this card is friend attack, you may pay the cost. The cost is pay 1, return this card to your hand. If you do, choose up to, so you can even bounce this and not put a card back, up to 1 card named Batman Infiltration, and put it onto the stage as the defending character. Normally in the set, it's a 1065. It can't attack if you have 1 or less characters in the back row. So, like, it's meant to guard against, like, at level 0, if you do this change, but then you can't feel the board, then it likely won't attack again. Right? And then, and it says all of your cards can't side attack as well.
Right.
As, like, the power demerit.
Right.
And so you can kind of like juke into it if your opponent doesn't know and they decide to front the gorilla. But then in the demo deck, Batman Infiltration is a 3/2 10K 2-soul on play heal. Because the change happens from your hand, if you played this abandoned card and changed into it, it still heals.
Yes. So, if you're not aware of this interaction, you can quickly find yourself with your opponent having a 3/2 10K on the board at 0. It's awkward to remove a card like that for a while. So,
now, the worst part about it is it's heads I win, tails you lose. Either you side this gorilla, and I get to keep a card, or you front this gorilla, and we get to roll the dice. Do I have it?
Bro, I would rather lose the whole game than front that gorilla.
It's better in the vanilla set because even if they never front the gorilla, then you just get to play the 1-0
right
at level 1 or level 2 as like a swinger. It's a 6/5, probably a 7/5 brainstormer on climax phase, give 500, like an 8K respectable swinger. You get to plus off this gorilla like fucking 3 cards total because people will tend to have shitter lanes. And when they have shitter lanes, that means the gorilla can side again or even just beat over it.
Yeah.
And then you get to make them ask themselves again, am I going to side this gorilla again? Oh my god.
Yeah. It doesn't work nearly as well, funnily enough, in the no ban list context because we are all aware of what the hell is going to happen if you front this thing.
And then you can never get rid of this fucking 3/2 from your hand. Because you have to be able to threaten it. So it's not like you can get rid of the 3/2, but like, man. But I gotta represent.
Yeah. So I think that's a noble goal. I did watch Ben play some games against IMA.
Last topic of the episode. What the fuck? They let Sokka live for so long, and they insta-banned this fucking garbage? Day 1?
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't believe it!
I don't think it was day 1, but it was quick.
It was before day 1 for English.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It was like 2 weeks after English found the interaction and JP like started using it.
Yeah.
Instant ban.
Yeah.
Like, God. Oof me just like in shambles. And they let this fucking perspectives criminal walk around fucking like multi-attacking at any level you desire.
For months.
Yeah. For topping to worlds.
Yeah.
What the fuck? This IMA garbage gets gimped by so many things. Oh, I didn't draw the shuffle bag. Oh, they all went to my clock. Oh, they're in my waiting room. Oh, I triggered IMA. Fuck. And then you don't have that much of a game plan afterwards. Like, and then if you block as the opposing player, oh God, it's over. Holy shit. What the hell? I have a 6-1 record as the unbanned Batman Ninja in the fucking IMA so far. What the hell?
Yeah, it's funny because they immediately followed this by printing a set that does basically the exact same thing and coin flips the entire game at level 0.
Yeah, Azure Lane.
Yes, Azure. Where it's like, if you block these 3 or 4 attacks, I'm gonna lose the whole game. If you don't, I'm gonna win the whole game right now. And it's just, yeah, IMA requires significant commitment. Sokka is way better.
There's so much like setup and like skill involved in like being like, okay, we gotta make sure we got all this, we got all this, we got all this, and that we can probably play the game afterwards, you know, after it all sticks or it doesn't stick. Like 3 cancels out of the 6 will probably get you there. And not like, it's so bad, especially if they're like, they can't do it. They're at level 0 and they can't do it. They're like 0-5 or 0-4 and they can't finagle it. And then you send them to like 1-5. And then they're doing this IMA thing while you're sitting at like 0-6, 1-2. Because then, like, as if your deck is mildly compressed, like, they're swinging 3s and 4s. It's near physically impossible for you not to block at least 2 of them. And then now, for the most part, it's gonna be like, hi, my name's 2-3 and you're at 1-5. Like, I'm behind, but also I probably have a full hand and you have 2 cards in your hand.
Yeah, I haven't faced it, so I'm not as familiar with it, but it
does
hell? Feel very coin flippy for sure.
What the fuck? I can't believe they let Sokka live for this long. Like, if you're like, it's not even that I'm not as much of a hater of Sokka. I thought if they did like Azula Sokka restrict, and then they just let like 8 standby be the funny like multi-attack deck, that's fine. But like, accept who you are. If you don't want multi-attacks, like vanilla triggering attacks before like level 2/3 or whatever, then fucking why are we here? What was this for?
Yeah, I think that I'm glad they admitted they were wrong. But yeah, the IMA just requires so much setup really quickly in the game, and maybe it was kind of a knee-jerk reaction to restrict it, but even if it was, I'm fine with it. Like, admitting that you're wrong is an important part of like gaining trust as a designer. Like,
right.
Like,
Sure.
I would much rather you admit that this interaction is completely unintended and bad for the game. Even if it's not that good competitively, it's a bad game design, gameplay paradigm. We didn't intend for it to be this way, so we're gonna get rid of it because it's bad. Not because necessarily it's broken, but it just promotes a bad gameplay experience for everyone involved. If they had just admitted that about Sokka a little bit earlier, I think we would have, it wouldn't sting so bad. But also, if you don't want that interaction, there's a way to restrict Sokka away from the standby trigger so you don't get those type of interactions. Just put the 2 standbys with Sokka in a 3-choose-1 and say, you can't do this. This is not legal.
Oh yeah, just like restrict standbys in Sokka.
Like, don't let Sokka be played with the standby trigger, and you don't have these kind of problems. But
Like, what are you gonna do? Vanilla play the 2-2?
But like removing Sokka at all kind of hurts their. They don't have very many good like Ricky style choices now, so that kind of sucks. I don't like to see Dex just completely die. Obviously, they just they did the exact same thing with Alice, where they were like, there's a way to make this playable, but this ain't it. We're just gonna make it unplayable. And so Sokka is now completely banned. So where does that leave Azula? Like, stranded, kind of.
Yeah. But 'tis life. That's life. That's life. And ain't it funny how it seems? Bad. Alright, but yeah. And so, by the time you see this, I guess it will be too late to promote this. But I am going to try to set up a stream for the no bans if it's possible.
Okay.
And if there is not a video on our channel before you see this of the DFW no ban shitfest, then you'll understand that we failed. But what we won't fail on is bringing you more written blog content for refreshpointws.blog. We have a post from Steve on how you lost, alluded to much earlier when we announced the blog. And we've got a post finally from the doctor. Unfortunately, Sokka was banned, but Aki got limited too before we could get out the full Aki math post. However, we still have all the math, including for double Aki. So, you can take a look at how we got all these numbers, take a look at very nice visualizations, like it's like basically color coded like graphs of like lethality from different levels with different level of climaxes with different cards in deck, all sorts of great stuff.
We love it.
And lots of, explanations about how we put this together, how it works on, like, intimately how the script works, and, how we might, apply it to different finishers and things in the future.
Nice.
And that is going to be our show for today. So tune in next time after your next deck out, and don't you forget to take the refresh point.